Thanks for tuning in to the Thumb Strong podcast. If you could, please like and subscribe to help us reach more people and help them get started in their fitness journey. Thanks and enjoy the episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Thumb Strong podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about Food Inc. So specifically breaking down the documentary called Food Inc., which kind of dives into our food industry in our country. So we're going to kind of dive into that and break it down just to educate you guys on our food as a whole, and then give you guys some recommendations and insights on, just making better choices and what to look for, what not to look for. That way you can start making improvements with nutrition and health overall. I also want to kind of share biggest takeaways, the biggest eye-opening things from the show, because it was a little eye-opening, a little scary, kind of disgusting.
And makes you not want to eat.
Kind of makes you not want to, yeah. So definitely want to make sure people are aware of it, and then hopefully they can make some better choices. So let's dive into kind of the section one here, Bethany, going into Food Inc.
Yeah, so just a quick overview for the documentary. Again, the first one was done in 2008. They have since done a second one with some different updated things. But back then, they were starting to look into, okay, what is the food industry structure? Like, what is it like? And how it's become much more of a corporate and industrialized system rather than what's actually portrayed. People around here in this area know a little bit more of where their food comes from. They see farmers out in the fields and we're around agriculture a little bit more, but the farms we see aren't really the farms that we're getting our food from,
right,
generally. Like sometimes, maybe down the pipeline, but this documentary highlights where most of our food is coming from when you go to a store like Walmart or another big chain store. Obviously, if you're buying local or from the farm or something, then you know where it's coming from. But generally, it's showing this other side of it that's maybe not the most humane or the most healthy way to be eating our food. And then also just getting into ultra processed foods, how originally it was designed to make food cheaper, easier to get lots of calories to people because people were hungry, and that was still more of a problem. Not that there aren't people still going hungry today, but our obesity problem is a bigger issue because of the highly consumed processed foods kind of led to from some different subsidies on things like corn and soybeans. So that all kind of feeds into the whole industry and the machine, as you would want to call it. But as far as we can kind of go through our takeaways from it, or things that kind of shocked us, was for the chickens. I knew it's not great conditions for the chickens, but how Tyson owns the farms essentially, or they have to build the buildings, but they own the rights to the chickens, and it's just really interesting how all that dynamic plays out, where Tyson owns the chickens, but the people own the land, and Tyson will build the buildings, but then they have to follow all these rules with it.
Mm-hmm. They can't even.
They can't make changes based on what they want to do. The farmers, they have to follow whatever Tyson recommends. Yeah. And so there was this one farmer lady that they were telling her to do blackout for the chicken houses and stuff like that. And so in that way, the chickens never see any sunlight, pretty much. They never see the light of day. And she didn't want to do that, and so then they shut her down.
Yep.
And it's okay, that's not cool. And just because she wanted the chickens to have a little sunlight, which I'm guessing they're just oh, well, then they won't let as much dirt in or something. But they're already in such unhealthy environments that it really doesn't matter, since they have to feed them antibiotics to keep them from all killing over. Because they have, what is it? It's the size of a printer paper is about the size one chicken gets.
Yeah, they're all just like literally on top of each other in
Pretty
the barn.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the chickens are dying from heart attacks, and
Yeah.
sometimes they can't walk. And
Yeah.
If one gets injured, then the others will like peck at it until it dies. Like, I mean, they'll do that in other small flocks too. It's not just in the big flocks, but like it's a lot more prevalent in those very large scale farms where there's just like you move chickens out and there's just like dead chickens everywhere.
I heard too that there's like the size of chicken legs and like chicken breasts you get from the store are, and the chickens that comes from are like twice the size of a normal chicken.
Yeah, so
Not a normal chicken, of what size chickens used to be back in like the 50s.
Oh, so it's not enlarged by pumping it up with
They can't put hormones or anything into it.
the chicken.
Correct.
Oh, that's
It is
even
illegal.
Tyson.
Dave Tyson. Like if you look at their label, it's no hormones
Oh.
ever.
really?
Yeah, so you can't actually add hormones. That's not legal for the FDA. But it's
'Cause
bigger.
I thought in the documentary I saw something about they wanted to produce bigger chicken breasts because that's what
right.
people eat, and so they've
genetically selected for the bigger breasts.
I gotcha.
It's not like they went in there and started pumping, steroids into the chicken breast so that
Right.
it gets bigger. It's from the 1950s. They took, this breed had way bigger breasts.
Yeah.
And because there's different colors of chickens, because there's different breeds of chickens,
Yeah.
and they're going to have different results through that. And typically you see mostly the pure white broiler meat birds.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've been able to genetically select and modify, like, okay, these chickens do the best, and we're going to breed these chickens together. And they've just made it so that, the breast is so much larger than the legs. So their legs at this point really can't support their body weight,
Yeah,
which is
that
why
was crazy too. Yeah, they just like fall down and
their legs will be broken. Like sometimes if you they'll take them to slaughterhouse and the legs will be broken.
crazy.
It's crazy.
So the chickens. Think twice before you eat those Tyson chicken nuggets, people.
Those Dino Nuggets. Come on.
Yeah,
Not the Dino Nuggets.
that's a whole nother part of the documentary right there. The marketing, Dino Nuggets, they
Mhm.
shape chicken into animals for kids marketing.
It's the nostalgia.
It's
Yeah.
not good.
No.
It doesn't taste any different.
Yeah.
What other things kind of hit you?
Mine was probably. I had two that I was gonna bring up, and I kind of forgot them already. You want to go first?
Yeah. There's a
I
few
lost my train of
things.
thought.
Yeah, a few things. Well, one, just like when you're watching it, you kind of have we have an idea of how bad our food industry is, but like you really get a sense of just how bad and kind of disgusting it is. Like seeing the chicken coops that are just completely blacked out, and there's just thousands upon thousands of chickens just literally right next to each other. They can't move. Even the same thing with dairy, like with the cows and stuff like that. It was bad, but what's crazy is literally like 4 corporations produce 80% of our food. And the illusion that there's all these different kind of brands, like think going down the cereal aisle and there's a million different options. It's all probably owned by 1 or 2 of those corporations, which is kind of crazy. But it's like that with all foods. Going back to what you had said about, like we see a bunch of farmers out farming corn and whatever else here, but the likelihood that we're actually eating that is very unlikely. So 2% of farms produce 50% of the U.S. food, which is insane. But a couple of the things that really stuck out to me was there was this interview with a family, and they were interviewing the wife. They had a couple younger kids, and the dad, I think he became type 2 diabetic or something like that, and he needed insulin every month. And they were talking about how expensive it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about comparing. She actually said, and I quote, like, what do we do? Spend the extra money on healthy food so he can be healthy, or spend the money on his medicine so he can be healthy? And that was very eye opening, because how many people in our country actually believe that paying for medicine or drugs is what's making them quote unquote healthy? It's not making you any healthier. It's just controlling the problem that you have, putting a band-aid on it, because the moment you quit taking that medicine or drug, your health is going to quickly decline and you could die.
Right.
So it's literally just keeping you alive. Whereas like spending the money on the healthy food and preventing the disease or eliminating it, like that's clearly the better option. But people actually don't know what to choose, that was frightening. Like I was
Yeah.
mad at the TV when I saw that. Like, how could this person possibly compare the two? Like, she's like, it would be about the same cost if we bought his medicine or if we bought healthy food. Like, what do you choose for him to be healthy? It's like, okay, there's a problem going on here, because she's not the only one that probably thinks this way. I had some other. Let's see.
Yeah.
Um,
I remembered mine. Mine was just the fact that like,
Yeah,
I fell into the trap of we were just talking about it, like the natural or cage-free
yeah.
or free range like labels on food, chicken and or like grass-fed, and but like that doesn't necessarily mean anything, and there's other labels that you should be looking for.
Yeah.
Which were, I can't remember them all, but we can go into that in a minute. But
Yeah.
There's other labels that are more reliable than just natural.
Yeah. Like
You
Bethany had a good
Or
example
organic.
with the salmon. So, like you have to specifically find a salmon that is labeled wild caught, because food manufacturers will put, wild farmed or fresh caught,
Yeah, fresh caught,
or something like that. And that does not mean it was wild caught. It just means it's what they can legally put on there from their farmed salmon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you really got to be careful. Unfortunately, it kind of sucks, but
Yeah.
um,
And you pay more for it too, unfortunately. Like there's some brands out there that are good that we were talking about, but you pay an arm and a leg for it because it's got to be shipped, right? It's more work.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's cheaper to produce food.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah.
The worst way.
Yeah.
Well, and this was also one of my biggest takeaways too, was, they talked about how every single person, every time they scan an item, they're casting a vote for what gets supplied.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear people complain all the time about how little produce or little healthy foods we have around here. Well, we could start by purchasing more healthy foods, because then we're casting a vote. Hey, people around here are eating more healthy foods. We could start to stock more healthy foods. Like if you walk into the store and all you see is ultra processed foods and candy and chips, that's because that's what everybody's buying.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants the cheaper food. Well, if you continue to do that, that's all there's going to be. It doesn't make sense. It's a business at the end of the day. Like, if we offered a service and 0 people bought the service, we'd quit offering the service, right?
Yeah.
So if we offered a service and every single person bought it, we're going to keep that service going. So it's no different with food. Like if everybody's buying processed food, that's what they're going to stock. They're not going to stock healthy options.
That's funny because I used to buy those whole wheat bagels at Walmart, Thomas, I think. And like half the time they'd never be there. And like I asked the guy one time at the store that was stocking the shelves, I was like, hey, you guys getting any of these in soon? He's like, no, I don't think for a few more weeks. Like nobody's buying them. Yeah. And I was like the only one that was buying them, and they barely ever have them. And I'm like,
yep,
sweet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This like in the documentary. I'm not sure if it was this one or the second one, but they had specifically Walmart corporation leaders come out and talk to certain organic farms. As that this might have been the more recent one instead of the 2008 one, but they're coming out to talk to the farmers because they're interested in stocking more organic items, organic milk, meat products, just things in general like that, because there was more of a demand for it, because people started to realize what was going on.
Yeah.
And so they started to want and buy those things more. And so that's why you see, 20 years ago, you probably didn't really see any gluten-free, any organic stuff, maybe a little bit of organic, but now there's organic labels on pretty much everything, certified organic stuff. So it's not as challenging to find because more people are prioritizing eating that.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that stuck out to me that was actually kind of cool in a way, because we can really make a change, is like one farmer, they interviewed him and they're like, we will grow whatever the people want. The problem is the people want, corn and soybeans, like that's what the market demands, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to grow.
I think that's like an endless loop though. Like somebody has to give.
Yeah.
And if nobody on either side is going to sacrifice, like, all right, the consumer says, all right, finally we'll start eating this. Or maybe the producer doesn't give them a choice and they stop producing the bad stuff, Yeah. I don't know. Somebody has to.
It's got to start with just, it's going to have to start with like smaller farmers and just one at a time, like just progressively, make a change, but it's going to start small and just hopefully make an impact. But
I think it starts with us buying those.
Well, yeah,
it comes down to the consumer.
Yeah, the consumer.
Because like the farmer's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to grow
Yeah.
this food just because I want to, but then if they can't make any money on it, they go out of business.
Yeah,
like farming's a business at the end of the day too. Like, yeah, they have great intentions of wanting to produce healthy things for people, but again, if they're in it to make, they need to make money. And that's their livelihood. Like most small farmers, like you think farmers around here, unless they're a big farm, they're going to have another job.
Yeah.
Like they work full time and they're a farmer.
Yep.
And on top of that discussion, that also influences the cost. So a lot of people, for one, they don't want to spend the money on healthy foods, and there's not a whole lot of options. Well, the reason it's more is because they're not selling enough of it, right? They have to make a profit margin on it. If we bought all of a sudden, if they sold 3 times as much fruits and vegetables, and they were able to get more in there, they could actually lower the cost potentially of healthy food options if they moved more volume of it. So like, yes, temporarily you might have less options and it might be more expensive, but like if everybody collectively, hey, let's start eating a little bit healthier and let's start adding some more whole foods into our diet, even if it was like half of your groceries instead of 90% or 10% of your groceries, right? Like if you just made that shift, like it's gonna come down. It's all just supply and demand and stuff, So
The other
it all
part
starts with us.
With prices is what's subsidized. So the government, like a subsidy, essentially, it's just they'll give like better prices or ensure a better price for farmers for things like corn and soybeans because that's one of the main things that we produce here. And corn can be used for everything. From ethanol to like batteries. Obviously feeding cattle, feeding chickens, so feeding our sources of meat. I mean, it can be used in like other just like regular household products. It's used in so many different things. Same thing with like soybeans. I mean, soybean and corn is probably 2 of the largest ingredients or like widest used ingredients in our food. And so that's why it's subsidized. It makes up together, it's 45% of the U.S. crop cash receipts from 2024. So
45%?
Yeah, of like the money made from crops, essentially. Yeah. And because we also do a lot of exporting on it. So it's kind of a cycle with that. And a few more farmers are starting to move more towards organic and things now that there's more of a demand for it too. So that does help. But still, like, you think about the Corn Belt, you think about Iowa, and just like hundreds of thousands of acres of corn just for miles. Like you don't even you just see a sea of cornfields. And it's interesting seeing like there's another documentary called King Corn where like they took through like the start to finish of the whole like corn like process of raising corn, growing it, selling it, where it goes in the market, where it goes to as far as like companies and things like that. So yeah, corn that's made in Iowa ends up in Ohio, ends up in New York, ends up in all these different areas. One thing with the film that it exposed is all the different corporate consolidation. Like on the shelves you look and there's this brand, there's hundreds of different brands out there. But really, like, especially with beef, there's 4 major ones, which is Tyson, JBS, Cargill, and National Beef. They've processed 85% of the grain-fed cattle for consumers. And for like total beef production, it's roughly 70% of like cows used for hamburgers. So, and especially like for things like McDonald's, I mean, I think, what was the statistic? Something like 40% of the nation's hamburgers purchased by McDonald's alone.
40%? Oh my god.
I think it was something like that.
So it is actually hamburger. It's actually beef.
Yes, it is actually beef.
Well, that
It is actually beef.
that's good to know.
It's just not very high quality beef. Probably.
Yeah. But yeah, like if you think about people around here that raise beef cattle and stuff like that, they make up a very small percentage of what's actually making it to the market. Unless obviously if you're buying direct, but like if you're going to a store, it's most likely that it's by one of those companies. So that's pretty interesting. And then you have the illusion of having a choice between different products. Like, so for like shelf stable brands, there's Nestle, there's PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, Unilever, General Mills, Kellogg's, Mars, Mondelez, and Danone. So essentially those big corporations own many smaller brands.
Yeah.
So say somebody comes up with a new like Vita Coco, like that coconut water.
Yeah.
So somebody started that company, raised it up, and it was like, oh, this is doing really well. Coca-Cola then bought that company, so they don't have to compete with it, and then like put it under their things. Like, oh yeah, we'll buy you out for such and such $1 million, which is like chump change to them, but for the person that was starting a company, they're like, great, like I can retire,
Yeah.
Sells it to them. Now they control, oh, okay, this is going to be the price for this. This is
Right.
going to be the price for that. And so they essentially control like what gets paid to farmers and then what the consumer pays. Whereas when we had a lot more widespread brands instead of just like these corporations, there used to be, it's like law or something, something with like monopolies. Do you remember what that was? If not, I'll look it up real quick.
Well, technically, they're illegal.
Right, they're
You
illegal
can't-
now.
It's against the law, yeah.
Well, let's see.
Sometimes they go under the radar, though.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, as far as like quality, some different like quality labels to look at. So like you had mentioned,
Yeah, I can bring those back up.
like if it says all natural or something like that, you have to look at
Yeah,
specific labels where it's like 100% grass-fed beef.
And then usually you'll say grass finished too.
Grass-fed, yeah,
Yeah.
100% grass-fed and finished. Otherwise, they could just like start them on,
Yep.
or they could like, start on corn and then just like, oh, move them to a green pasture for a little bit and then call
Yeah.
it good. Or like, oh yeah, they grazed in this pasture for like a couple weeks and then
Yeah.
can call it grass-fed and then finish with corn.
yeah. So some of the labels to look for that are good are certified human raised and handled, Global Animal Partnership or GAP, Animal Welfare Approved AWA, American Humane, Regenerative Organic Certified, and a Greener Worlds Animal Welfare Approved / Certified Animal Welfare by AGW.
Sweet.
So don't always trust the ones that say natural or farm raised or free range or humane.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then things like, so for eggs, for example, saying it's free range, or no, cage free.
Yeah.
Cage free eggs is essentially like they can still be in a very small, tight quarters, but they just don't have cages.
Right.
So yeah, they can move around in their little square foot of space.
Yeah.
And then there's free range. Free range, they just need a certain square amount of feet that goes outside of the building to be considered free range.
Oh, it's like a
And they go
very
out for like maybe a couple minutes a
Yeah.
day or something like that.
strict
too.
regulation of like, all right, put exactly this much fence around it.
Yeah, so it's like buy local
No
when
more.
you can. Like
No
there's if you
There's a
know-
lot of people that do chickens.
there's a lot of people
There
that
is.
do chickens and like
Yeah.
you know
Like and it's crazy. So like here's a great example. So at Walmart, like I've bought in, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 different brands of eggs, and I've gone from the free range, cage free, just the regular, white eggs, and they're white, they're brown, whatever. And you crack them open, and the yolk is almost always the same. It's just like a light yellow. And then I get literally, they're actually free range in my brother's yard all day long, and I get his eggs, and the yolk is like a dark, dense, almost an orange. Like you can just tell how much more nutrient dense it is just by even looking at the yolk on them.
Yeah.
So like I try to only ever eat his eggs unless like he's out or if I don't have time to grab some from him, and then I'll get one. But it's funny when I put them in a pan, and I've taken a couple pictures of like, which 4 eggs are store bought and which 4 eggs are not. Yeah, it's just crazy how much the difference is, and that's no matter what ones I get.
Yeah,
they're all almost identical.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You get or you used to get Butcher Box too, right?
Yeah, so for like the steak and chicken and
so
stuff
that's
like that.
a brand that you can use that does not fit any of those bad
Yeah.
categories.
So that'd be like the grass fed, grass finished.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
actually certified.
could you tell the difference?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The meat's way better.
Yeah, I can tell the difference in my venison that I harvest myself
Oh yeah.
compared to like just
Yeah.
ground beef or
Yeah.
like steak. from
I
the
actually
store.
might start getting some more meat from them again.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing my Icon meals anymore, so
Mhm.
I might start
Yeah.
just cooking and prepping my own.
Yeah, I'm curious how it is.
Yep.
White Oaks Pastures too is a what is it, regenerative farm or something like that. What is that?
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about
Um,
them, but yeah.
It's actually down here. Yeah. But I remember watching a video on them, and they showed like the differences in soil in their properties, like their regenerative farming and then the neighbor's
Oh, yeah.
normal factory farming.
Yeah.
Right? And they literally are at the line. There's like a river or a little creek that splits the properties. And they dig up just a scoop of soil from his side and one from the other side. And you're looking at it, and the White Oaks Pastures is just this rich, dark, black, like soft, falling through your hands soil. The other one's just this like dry, clumpy clay. Like,
Yep.
It's crazy how much effect that has on like the animals that are grazing on that land and the water that is being irrigated through that soil.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Same thing with crops too. Like realistically, you're supposed to alternate which crops are planted in certain fields.
Mono agriculture is not good.
And
for the soil.
once you go multiple years of planting corn, that
Yeah.
soil is diminished of its nutrients. And
Mhm.
then you have worse corn product.
Yeah.
But that's what people want, so it's what they get.
Yeah.
There was something else that I wanted to point out on. Because we're talking about some healthier options here, and compared to like obviously the mass-produced processed foods that are definitely cheaper for sure, but it's like ultra-processed foods. For every 10% increase in ultra-processed foods you eat, you got a 12% higher risk for cancer. And obviously, we know like our country is 40% of people are obese. 60% of U.S. calories come from ultra processed foods, which leads to higher risk for disease, etc. So you can either save money now and then spend a ton of money on medical bills in the future because of what you choose to eat, or you can invest a little bit more money now and save yourself a bunch of money on medical bills in the future. So it's really the choice is up to you and what kind of quality life you want to live, and really ask yourself, is what's more important, your life or, a dollar bill? Like it's just a made up thing that we use to trade. That's all it really is.
Yeah.
It's like, nothing is more important than my well-being and my body and in this one life that I get to live. So it's like you're voting with your dollars on what's important to you. And, when I get the point of saving money because some people just literally can't afford to do anything else,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. But if you are in a position where you have that choice and you can control, make that small investment because it's going to pay dividends in the future for you.
Yep.
But
If I told you that I'd give you $100 million today, but you would not wake up tomorrow, would you take it?
no,
So your life is worth more than $100 million?
yeah,
Exactly. You can live like that every day, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Go back to my the monopoly market type things.
Okay.
So, like, it first started in the 1900s when it was more of like an oil thing when there's big corporation and monopolies coming around. But then they started to target that even with like the food industry as well. Really came around in the 1930s and 50s, like during the New Deal. The government was like, we don't want huge market concentration in things like food. So they made an act, the Robinson-Patman Act, in 1936. Targets grocery chains used to size and undercut smaller grocers, so it aims to protect local food markets. So like more of like small grocers, things like that. It presumed that if one company had over 50% of the food market, that it was dangerous. And this lasted into about the 50s, 60s. The Supreme Court actually blocked in 1966 a merger of two grocery store chains. It was Vaughn's Market and Shopping Bag, and they were trying to merge. And they said no because they would have a 7.5% of the market of the Los Angeles groceries. Like they would basically control 7.5%. So it was very strict. And then once it hit the 1980s, they started to embrace more of like consumer welfare. Oh, it'll be cheaper if we consolidate more. So what happened then, like Tyson got bigger and those other like beef companies, and all of these different things started to merge really rapidly, like Safeway, Kroger, Walmart's, all those started to rise. And so the whole like no more than 30 to 40% of a market control was then abandoned. And so it just allowed majority companies to hold more of the market, keep merging with other companies. So now those four companies hold over 80% of the beef processing, whereas in 1970 it was less than 25%. And then today things like, like you mentioned Monsanto, things like that. But what was the other one? Yeah, Tyson, JBS, Cargill, and National Beef have over 80% of the beef, 70% of the pork, and 60% of the chicken. And then Walmart controls over 25% of all U.S. grocery sales, and in some regions, well over 50%. And it's
Crazy.
like around here, it's like all we have is Walmart.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you go to like Country View or something, or you drive to the city and then you can get your groceries. But yeah, so that's where in 2020 we had all these like food shortages and things like that, or we had different supply chain issues because of COVID and things weren't coming through, and because we have such large corporations, it starts running into more issues with that.
That make up so much of. It's just all relying on that one corporation.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's like you're relying on them to make prices,
And then
to
if
make sure it's
something
quality.
goes bad with them, well, they make up, like you said, 60, 70, 80% of the products. It's like, oh, shoot, now what?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So if like there's an infections or some sort of disease that comes through and hits all the Tyson
Guess
chickens,
what? We're not going to have very much chicken on our shelves.
no, or it's going to be very expensive chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both, yeah.
Both.
Crazy.
So there's a lot more to our food system than I guess
What meets
most
the
people
eye?
think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people think that it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah.
What are some practical takeaways or just some little nuggets for the audience before we wrap up?
Yeah. So when you're shopping, just know where it's coming from. Look for better options, like like the Applegate brand was great.
Applegate.
Organic Valley. A lot of like the organic stuff, if it's like certified organic, is usually better. But I mean, you can just like look it up, and usually your Google search will tell you what is the more humane brands and things like that.
Applegate makes what? Sausage links? Do they make
Quite a few different meat products. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
Sandwich
breakfast
stuff.
type stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Breakfast.
so. Yeah. As far as like condiments and oils, Primal Kitchen, Chosen Foods, Bragg are all good things. Yeah, there's a few different like pantry staples, Bob's Red Mill, Eden Foods, which is Michigan based. That's kind of cool.
Mhm.
But just there's things to watch out for of different companies that don't have the best practices. I know like Smithfield Pork's not great. Tyson and Purdue not great. So obviously, if it's like that's all you have, that's all your option is, okay. But it's just being aware of
Oscar
everything.
Mayer probably isn't.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably stay away from the hot dogs. I would say.
Yeah.
Might not be the best thing.
Yep.
But yeah, practical takeaways is like you control. They might control what goes on the shelves, but you control what goes on your plate at the end of the day.
And if more of us control what goes on our plate, we can actually kind of control what
What's
goes
on
on
the
the shelf at
shelves.
the end of the day,
Yes.
long term.
It starts with
It
us.
starts with us for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's why we're here.
If you got farmers markets around you, check those out.
Farmers markets, buy local when you can.
Buy local when you can. Food
Yep.
stands that are always up. You know,
Grow your own food.
grow your own food.
That's a lot of work, but
Yeah. Somebody should make an app where you can find local farmers markets or food stands. You like travel around. You're like, hey, there's a food stand right here. Put it on the app,
oh yeah, have like a
and then have like a little map of. You know what I mean?
It would be nice,
Yeah. Maybe I'll
especially
come
right
up
now.
with
There's
that.
a lot more popping up, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll come up with that. I'll create it.
Here's one more quick fact. The U.S. spends $4.3 trillion annually in healthcare, much tied to diet-related diseases. That's
Believe
insane.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, I think for me, I would just say, look more for the organic and look for those certifications that Lauren mentioned. If you don't remember them, obviously just
Yeah.
search. What are the certified organic brands to look for, or stamps. They usually stamp it on the label of
Yeah.
what kind of certification they would have. Yeah, and there's a lot of good stuff online too. Like we mentioned, Butcher Box.
Yeah.
They'll ship you frozen, meats and stuff like that. So there's some decent choices online because they're more prevalent, especially our area. Like there's not a whole lot of choices, but
No.
the nice thing is we can get a lot of stuff online shipped to us anymore. So that's always a good win. But
There's a website called Eat Wild. It has a listing of stores and farms in Michigan that actually carry wild, pastured local meats. So you can find some like local stuff, fairly local anyways, probably not Sandusky.
Right.
But if you go on that website, Eat Wild, and click your state, it'll give you different
cool.
locations in your state that sell these types of products.
That's awesome.
So
they do have fun.
Yeah.
That's great.
Or even like the Yucca app. We've
Yeah,
talked about that before.
I highly recommend the Yucca app for when you're grocery shopping. You can literally scan the label on everything, and it'll tell you. It'll kind of rank it from 0 to 100, and then it'll tell you like what additives and preservatives and stuff like that it has. Unfortunately, like sodium and total calories will give it a pretty big ding. So just make sure you actually read it to see like why it got dinged as bad or something. But that will really help you make better choices. And the cool thing is let's say I went in there and I scanned an Oscar Mayer bacon. It's probably going to be a 0 or a 10 out of 100. Yeah. If you scroll down, it'll give you like 5 to 10 recommendations for better options for bacon. And a lot of them you'll be able to find right there at Walmart.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really love that app actually. I use it quite a bit.
Change happens one choice at a time.
Yep. Start making small changes and it'll make a difference.
Yes.
But hopefully this was helpful. This is a big topic. There's a lot more we can go into on the food industry, which I think we're going to go into more of the second documentary next week.
Yeah.
So we can go a little bit deeper on Food Inc. But hopefully this was helpful and
Watch it
helps
yourselves.
you. Yeah, I would definitely recommend watching it. It'll definitely make you make some healthier choices. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
So until next time, stay healthy and have a great day. See ya.